The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party would have had a difficult time winning the 6 election petitions it filed in court, which is why it eventually withdrew them. That's the view of former Government Minister Dwyer Astafan and political analyst Peter Wickham. In an exclusive interview with SK Newsline, Mr. Astafan said because of the kind of allegations in those petitions, it would have been hard for the party to get witnesses to testify in court.
Gathering witnesses to do witness statements in itself would be a challenge. Our people have a way of telling you, boy, I see Mary slap Dwyer. They say, well, okay, you want to come and give evidence? She said, me, not me, me want to get in no trouble. So people will see, but they will not come to court to give evidence. So in a culture like that, particularly now to be asked to give evidence for a candidate who has lost against a newly elected government, heightens the fear and the hesitancy in the individual and renders it more difficult. And I believe that more than anything else was seen by the legal team as a challenge and not able to get sufficient evidence in place to make their case. And if my perception of it is correct, then I think they did the right thing to abort the cases. Were I in their shoes, I might have considered doing a challenge in one, maybe two constituencies at the most.
Political analyst Peter Wickham had a slightly different view on the matter. In an interview on SK Newsline's sister radio station, Voice of the Caribbean Radio, he said the petitions were far-fetched and would not have succeeded in court. He was, however, surprised that the party withdrew the petitions.
The more successful petition, or the most successful petition of recent times, which was the one that went forward in Nevis, had a bit more substance to it than this one. And this one didn't seem particularly strong, but I was not expecting it to be withdrawn because I figured it would have gone forward, it would have been fought, and then it would have given the opposition the opportunity to say, look, we carried this argument to its logical conclusion and we lost it, but we're still convinced that there was something in it. The idea of unilateral withdrawal, however, makes it difficult to argue that you have fought it to the end. And I think even in terms of how it was withdrawn, and I don't know if you're going to get to that later in the conversation, it seemed a bit unusual to me because the announcement that we saw in the press basically said that the government exploited some errors and forced them to withdraw the matter. And then we subsequently heard, certainly from Dr. Douglas in his piece that he did with you, that the matter was unilaterally withdrawn because there were some mistakes that were made regarding the filing. And it appeared as though it was more unilateral than had been previously suggested by the Labour Party news machine. So it does create some confusion. To me, if you have a strong case, you don't make mistakes like that.
So why then did the Labour Party eventually withdraw the 6 election petitions? On July 31st, the day the withdrawal was announced, the party in a statement on its Facebook page said it had been prevented from pursuing the matter on a simple legal technicality. Opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas, in an interview with SK Newsline, explained.
Council has advised, and we as clients have accepted, the notice of withdrawal because of some errors we understand that were made pertaining to the notification of relevant court officials regarding the payment of the security that is usually expected to be paid in cases of this kind.
Mr. Wickham, however, suspects a different reason for the withdrawal of the petitions.
They felt that fighting the petitions and failing in that regard would have exposed them even more. The courts, certainly if you look at what the courts have been, the position they've been taking in Guyana, is that they seem to be getting to the stage where they're looking to impose some fairly hefty fees and costs in situations where matters which are frivolous are sent to the courts. Now, I don't know whether this would have been a concern for the Labour Party, whether they were concerned about the costs that they would have been facing had the government defended this and then they were faced with costs that they had to deal with. I don't know whether that was a factor. I would be inclined to think that it could not have been an issue of money. So there has to be some other strategic reason. And honestly, I think in the absence of anything coming from them directly, we have to guess.
The Labour Party said the 6 election petitions provided substantive evidence based on eyewitness accounts and reports from its electoral agents that uncovered widespread irregularities in the voting process. Dr. Douglas has said, however, that the withdrawal of the petitions is by no means a concession of the election results, which saw the Team Unity Coalition winning 9 of the 11 seats in the National Assembly. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.